Good evening. I'm Louise Hudson, and this is Gretchen Kother with Lee County Federated Republican Women. We'd like to welcome you this evening to one of our candidate interviews, and we're going to be introducing Yvette Herrell to you this evening. Yvette, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what you're running for, please?
Yes, thank you for doing this, by the way. This is a great thing to have you do in order to get in front of voters in a different format. But yeah, my name is Yvette Herrell, and I'm running for the 2nd Congressional seat in New Mexico.
Okay.
All right, so we'll get started with our questions. The first one is, what would your policy be on border security?
Yeah, that's a great question, because without a border, we're not a nation. So certainly this is a priority for all of New Mexico, I believe, and nationally as well. I would go to Washington, D.C. and take the voice of New Mexico with me, and that would be to stand with President Trump to fund the border wall, to ensure that we're providing the tools necessary to our Border Patrol agents, but also putting the safety of American citizens, New Mexicans, at the forefront. I think Xochitl Small did us a disservice by not supporting the funding. And we saw with all of the things that happened last year with the asylum seekers and et cetera, that we had major problems. I am very proud, though, of this president who has been able to get a portion of the wall funded. And now we see over 100 miles that has been built. And with the remain in Mexico policy that President Trump worked on last year, that has helped ease the amount of traffic coming through. But for New Mexico and America, this is also an economic issue. We have farmers, ranchers on the border that really cannot produce to capacity because they have such an influx of traffic coming through their properties. So we have got to make sure that we're, one, putting the American people first, making sure that this wall is funded, giving our agents and those on the border that are keeping us safe the tools they need in order to do their jobs. So going and taking this concern and working with colleagues in Washington, D.C. is critical and really a top priority.
Okay, thank you.
So the second question, Yvette, is what would your energy policy be for the future of our country?
Right, and it's such an important industry, not only for New Mexico, but for America. First off, we need to make sure we're educating people so they understand how important energy is. Secondly, we need to look at the framework and work through the framework so that we can make sure that the over-regulations are maybe eased somewhat. Lower taxes. Let's keep our industry competitive, not only on a national market, but on a global market. We need to make sure that we're standing up against radical progressives that want to kill the oil and gas industry, protect the industry from things such as the Green New Deal, moratoriums on fracking. A lot of what we're going to be seeing over, I believe, the next number of weeks are the talks that come together between Saudi Arabia and OPEC, other partners. We have to see what President Trump has in mind in terms of helping us to become more productive again. We all know right now we are in a bit of a slump, and these talks that are anticipated in the next number of days between Russia and Saudi Arabia, I think are going to be driving the conversation that our administration has as it relates to how we can come together and bolster our production again. But that for New Mexico and America is an important industry. I think we have too many people in Washington that don't understand it, want to fight against it, and want to see our nation become a green nation, which we all know is unsustainable. So going to Washington, D.C. and standing up and deregulation, easing tax burdens, and ensuring that we have production available and jobs available in our state is paramount.
All right, thank you. Our third question is, the Affordable Health Care Act has not worked effectively for many Americans. What would your remedy be to this?
Yeah, the Affordable Care Act, I've complained about this all along because in my own opinion, this was more than just trying to provide health care. It was actually government overreach into 1/6 of our economy. I say let's bring it back to a free market industry. Let's let families, businesses choose what providers, what premiums, what doctors work best for them. Let them choose their own policies and what are more affordable for them. Let them have choice in the matter. When we have free market enterprise, we drive competition. It pushes the price down so the consumer pays a better price. But in my opinion, government has had not a good way of making sure that we have the correct policies that are affordable. This is anything but the Affordable Care Act, but I do believe that pushing it back to a free market enterprise is exactly what we need to do. I'm very proud of President Trump, though, for doing some of the things he has been able to accomplish in terms of transparency and pricing. It keeps the consumer dollar down. It helps families pay more affordable prices for prescription drugs. But it's not working, and we can all see premiums continue to jump. And we look at the Cadillac tax, we look at HIT, other things that have been very expensive for especially business owners and families. So the way I would push it is, let's put it back to a free market industry where it should have been all along, should not have been moved. And let's let the competition and the consumers have choice in the matter.
Okay, great.
Okay, so then now we're going to ask you a question that you haven't seen yet, and this was submitted to us, is what would your policy be on the federal bailouts?
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, are you talking about the stimulus packages that just passed, or are you talking about previous?
Well, what would your policy be on federal bailouts?
Yeah, I'm not always in favor of that, especially if we look to like the stimulus packages, because typically a lot of the people that really need the help are the last ones to see it. And we have to be very careful because we don't have a balanced budget. I mean, I'm a balanced budget amendment type person. I think federal government should be running on a federal budget. We have to balance our budget on the state level. Every household that I know of and every business I know of has to run on a balanced budget. I think these bailouts get to a place where we're picking winners and losers in terms of industry. I think there are, in some cases, they can be helpful. We saw that happen several years ago in 2008 when we had the crisis in terms of our real estate markets and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. But I think that if we had our spending under control, if we had a balanced budget and we could rid ourselves of government overreach, the bloating and the unnecessary spending, I think we wouldn't have to have bailouts. The stimulus packages are a little bit different, but I still think that they're in some ways not as effective because I concern myself that folks that really need the help may not see it. And I'll cite an example. In the stimulus package that was just passed, we know $1.2 billion is coming to each state. We know that government entities with a population of over 500,000 have access to that same pot of money up to 45%. But I'm concerned about every single community in the 2nd Congressional District that does not have direct access. So I think we need to be mindful when we talk about bailouts or stimulus.
Okay, well, thank you so much. We really appreciate your spending time with us today and answering our questions. And if you'd go ahead and give your name and your race again for the audience.
Yeah, again, it's Yvette Herrell, running for the 2nd Congressional race. I'm excited about the opportunity. I think the experience I bring to the table, along with the relationships that I've built throughout the state and the nation, are very key elements of this race. And I'm just excited. And I would just ask everybody to keep praying for our government, for our president, for our nation, and we need to make sure we're working hard to turn this state red in November.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for doing this. I think this is great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.